What's up, everybody? It's Hank here with Break MMA. Very, very, very pumped about today's episode. I've had multiple guys from Ink Master on the show for you guys that have followed me. I've had the coach, Christian Buckingham, great episode. I had a contestant that just went home on the last episode, Austin Rose, great guy, good episode. And today is a really special one to me because the very first episode of this season of Ink Master, one of the very first things I said was that guy Turk has got real potential, and that guy Turk is one of my favorites. And I am very pleased to have him on the podcast today. So what's going on, Turk? How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's cold here. Is it cold in California right now?
San Diego doesn't really ever get super cold. It's probably somewhere in the 60s. Actually, by now it's probably in the 70s, so it's fine. I mean, winter season here in San Diego, we have 4 seasons just like everybody else, but ours are summer, 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 and summer where it's a little cold and rainy. So right now we're in the summer where it's a little cold and rainy, but right now there's not a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful out. So
yeah, I live in Tennessee. It's a little cold right now down here in the South.
Nice. Well, I've been to Tennessee maybe once back in 2001, but I don't remember what the weather was like because that was a long time ago.
So you are a contestant on this season's Ink Master.
Yep.
I've asked Austin, about the living arrangements, and I talked to Christian about, the house y'all live in and the filming and all that. And before what everybody asks, whenever you bring it up, well, how real is Ink Master? And Christian said the exact same thing as Austin said. They both said that it's probably 60% real, 40% fake. They're like, everything with the tattooing is legit. They can't fuck with that. They can't mess with the tattooing. They can't mess with your drawings. But, like, the drama and the shit stirring is a little bit TV. Do you agree with that?
Not really. I mean, actually, I would disagree a little bit. They don't really stir up much of anything. Like, they don't tell you anything to say, but they film every fucking word that you do say. So, if we're getting into it about some shit or whatever, there's a camera there. If we're, they might pull some people off to the side and let them talk on their own, and you're not privy to those conversations, so you're not really aware of what's happening. There's been a couple things that have aired where, to me, I was like, when the hell did this happen? I wasn't there. But they don't pull you aside and say, hey, come over here and you guys talk about this or whatever. That's just not true. Like, it's just, you're kind of stuck in this house with all of these people, and your only real confidants are the cast producers. And you might say something to one of the cast producers about how you're feeling about whatever, and they decide like, hey, we're going to stick you guys in there, and maybe this will come up. But they never are like, you're going into this room, you're talking about this, go. It's just not like that. I'd say the only thing to me that was a bit like, I wouldn't say the word fake, but it's like the stuff that's kind of contrived is the stuff that Dave says, or the stuff that, like Oliver and Chris, like, they seem pretty genuine in their responses and what they say. It doesn't seem canned or planned for them or anything like that. But, Dave, for the most part, is reading off of cue cards for the stuff that he has to say. But when it comes to his opinion side of it or whatever, there's nothing. There's not a cue card for that. Like, the TV magic part of it, I guess, is that when they show us walking up to our flash challenge or something like that, and it's like we have to do that like a fucking dozen times sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, because they got to get those perfect shots and things like that. It's like that's the only thing that's really kind of like forced. Everything else is pretty fluid. Like. And the tattoo challenge, the flash challenge, all that stuff, like they don't mess with you. And the time limits are 100% what they say they are. And the pressure is real. And that kind of, the dialogue that kind of erupts from that or whatever is kind of based on the fact that we don't ever have an opportunity to get away from each other. You know what I mean? So like real things like pop up because you you can't just be like, cool, well, I'm going to go over here. There's nowhere to go. You're always around these people. So eventually tempers flare, man, and the cameras get it.
Yeah, that the one thing I forgot to ask Christian and Austin was how. Well, not really Christian because he's the coach, but you and Austin are contestants. How did you get on the show? Do you like send them a request? Do you send them like your portfolio and then they get back with you, or how did it work where you got selected? Can you talk about how they selected you?
So I can speak for Austin in the sense that like Austin, he got onto Ink Master. He won his position on Ink Master by winning his episode of Angels. So, because he was on Ink Master Angels. Now, how he got to be on Angels, whether he applied or was recruited, I have no idea. I know for me personally, the producers or the casting agency, like people kind of cast out these big wide nets of, saying, hey, we're looking for tattooers that might be interested in applying. And I had always turned it down because it just seemed like a form letter. You know what I mean? It was always like, dear sir or madam, do you tattoo? And if so, would you be interested in talking more about this possible thing? And so it's, I always just disregarded it because it didn't seem any sort of genuine whatsoever. However, this last time, I started getting messages that were like, hey, my name is blank and, I'm a big fan of your work specifically. And I think that you would be a person that would be good to get on this season that we're trying to put together. And because it seemed a little more pinpointed, like they actually like took some time to actually look at my work and not just be like, hey, you are a tattoo artist, come on our television. You know what I mean? It was a little more like, hey man, like, you could probably do pretty good. And honestly, like, I mean, I still had to apply just like everyone else, but it seemed like they were actually kind of asking me to apply. Like, and so, or at least that's how I took it. And so I applied just like everybody else and went through all the different interviews and all the different stuff and psych evals and all this different crap. And then they decided to take me, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I thought it would be something similar. Like they reached out to you and like, hey, we like your work. We sought you out to see if you would like to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said before, I had been getting emails probably back from the fourth season, even but it was just so blanket. Like it didn't matter who answered it. It was just kind of this huge wide net, and they would just kind of filter through it. But this time it started seeming a bit more pinpointed. And, for me, it was like after 20 years in the business and, 100 plus conventions and tons of magazines and awards and all this kind of crap, it was kind of like, well, there's really not anything else in the industry for me to do at this point, like to try. So why not try this?
So when it first started, like that first episode, and you walked out and they're filming, and well, not even filming, watching it when it aired, because you watch it for the first time when we watch it, right?
Yeah.
So watching it,
we don't see any of it ahead of time at all. So
yeah, watching.
I have no idea. I know how tonight's episode ends because I was there,
right.
But I don't know what's going to make the show. You know what I mean? So it's really new for us too when we watch it, because we don't know what conversations they're going to use. It's very brand new to us as well. So
that's a cool part too, because you don't, like you said, they film you all day and you don't know what they're going to pick out, what they're going to use, what's going to make the episode.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you got six camera guys and they're all filming like 6 different angles, and Flash challenge is 6 hours with 2 hours of lead up. That's 8 hours. Tattoo challenge is like an hour with your canvas, 2 hours to draw, 6 hours to tattoo, an hour of fallout afterwards. That's 10 hours. Then it's like interviews and all the house reality stuff and all that crap is hours and hours of footage. And all of that gets boiled down to 43 minutes of television. I mean, like, they can't show all of it. They just can't, So the way that they're going to put it together, it's kind of, we have no idea how it's going to go down until it does.
So when you first got there and you were kind of scouting out competition, who immediately stuck out as you, like looking at their pictures, looking at their tattoos that they've done, and looking at, like, let's say 2 weeks into it, two or three challenges deep, who stuck out in your mind where you were just like, damn, that they're really, really gonna be tough to beat in this challenge?
I mean, like initially, right off the bat, I would say probably one of the first scary people that I thought of was Jamie, honestly, because I know Jamie. Like, I know Jamie in real life. And I've seen his work. I've seen his art. I mean, the dude is fantastic. So I was like, oh, cool. Like, this dude's going to fucking smoke show all of us. You know what I mean? Like, because he's just really good. Unfortunately, he got shook, on that dragon wrist piece or whatever. So when he was gone, I kind of had to reevaluate like who I thought, were going to be the big heavy hitters. And I mean, I definitely, I don't really base it on attitude, like, or anything like that, because to me that doesn't mean anything. I base it more on like portfolio and like what kind of well-rounded kind of style they might have. I definitely thought Tiffer was one of the heavy hitters right off the bat, just because he has a really strong like style, and that goes a long way in tattooing, just super bold, super good color choices, things like that. Like, from an artist standpoint, I look at it and I go, okay, this guy has got a lot of good attributes to his stuff, but I don't see any realism. I don't see any like really what a black and gray artist would consider a black and gray tattoo. So there's, it's limited, there wasn't really anybody I saw that I thought had the full spectrum of every single style, I know that, TJ's work is very stunning when you look at it, but it's also not much of it is stuff that he created. You know what I mean? It's a lot of kind of Photoshop together things. And then he kind of uses his very, he's got a very sharp technical skill to apply all of that stuff. But there's not a lot of like creativity or hand drawn type of, feel to his work. And so that kind of limits you as well. But but there's no denying that his work is very stunning. So I think in the beginning, like I said, it was probably like, dudes like Tiffer and maybe TJ that really kind of stood out. There's a lot of really good dudes that are just really good, solid street shop tattooers. Tony's one of them. Jimmy's one of them. You know what I mean? It's like, on Christian's side, it was like, it seemed to me like all the black and gray people went to Christian and all the like street shop hustlers went to clean, and almost like, like somewhere in the middle of the season, I started kind of being like, man, I probably could learn more black and gray stuff if I was on that side. But I didn't regret my choice, only because, Christian's, I can't get along with the guy. So,
So perfect segment, into the next one. You guys recently had some tweets back and forth, and you guys have literally, because I follow both of y'all, obviously, and I've spoke to both of y'all. There's respect, and you can tell there's respect there. He said he respects you. He says that you have done some great tattoos out of the show, but you listened to our interview, and he said that he thought that you haven't succeeded that much on the show. He thought that you haven't shown, and like you said, it's a pressure cooker. You're under pressure. You're under heat. You're getting filmed. It's definitely a weird environment. It's not like you're showing me your shop. It's not like you're at home. You slept in your own bed and you wake up and you tattoo at your own pace. It's not like that. So, is there really a legitimate beef between you two, or is it just kind of you don't like his attitude and he don't like yours, and sometimes people just don't mesh well?
I would say it's a little bit of both, honestly. Like, I don't dislike him as a person, but I think that he's kind of a duplicitous, person. Like, he'll say, like, you need to be more of a snake. You need to be more of a, get out there and play dirty and whatever. That's how you win. That's how you do whatever. And then when you do that, he cries like a baby sometimes, So it's like, well, which which one do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Like, we had that conversation. This is off camera, off like everything, where he's telling me, you know, like, you got to play dirty. You've got to, you know, not telling me to cheat or anything, but he's like, you know, you're going to, you know, he would say I was too nice, or I'm too smart, or I'd use big words or something like that. And like, when he's trying to make fun of me, and I'm like, I don't understand how that's something that you would make fun of, like somebody being intelligent that doesn't have any issue. Mm-hmm. Like, why would that be a problem, for one? But right. For two, to like say, like, you know, you need to play a little more, you know, strategic and do that stuff. And then we would do it, and he would fucking lose his mind. You know what I mean? So it's like, we never could really figure out which one he really is. And I honestly feel like the problem is that he doesn't know, you know what I mean? Like, he's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, he said a few times, like, you know, I like animals more than people. Right. And to me, I always thought, like, dude, I love animals too. I'm very compassionate towards animals and all that. I'm not a PETA, you know, tree hugging, you know, vegan or anything like that. But you know, I mean, I'm pro animal, like, you know, but I think if you like animals more than people, then you're on the wrong team, really. I mean, like, people are we have to advance people more than anything else. But I think that you know, aside from the joke, the reality of it is that, you know, that type of like narcissism of being like, yeah, I don't like anyone at all, it kind of like eats away at you a little bit, you know what I mean? And I think that he's got this kind of, this like internal kind of struggle, is like, maybe he doesn't even really like to be as bitter as he is, but he's already kind of, you know, made himself out to be this way, and now he has to be that way. I think that he's a real compassionate, like, you know, strong, you know, dude. He cares about his family. He cares about like his team and things like that. But, you know, when he falls short of you know, saving somebody on his team, or here was an opportunity where he could have coached somebody and probably got a better result, when he falls short in that sense, like, he just fucking explodes a bit. Like, if you criticize it whatsoever, and it's like, you know, just a little bit of humility goes a long way. Just admitting, like, yeah, I probably could have did better here, or whatever, I think would do better for him on a personal level. But instead, he goes out on the attack all the time. And, you know, he kind of blew up on Twitter on me yesterday, and it was because I commented on some people, you know, about the panther tattoo that he did. And it's like, well, you know, Clean's tattoo is a traditional panther, like, straight up. Like, in Christians is also a panther, but traditional is not the subject matter. Traditional is how you apply the tattoo. And so because he didn't necessarily apply it in the way that follows the traditional rules, I commented on that, and man, he fucking lost his shit again. And it's like, why can't you just be like, you're right. Like, yeah, fuck, I could have did better, or whatever. Boom, done. Instead, he's like, oh, you talk shit, whatever. I'm over Twitter. I'm out of here. Fucking all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're being a baby, man. Like, people have been kicking my ass on Twitter. Like, you know, every time, you know, I've been to the bottom twice already. And it's like, when it happens, I just soak them up. I'm not out there, you know, like Tony being like, fuck you and whatever. I'm just like, yeah, okay, that sucks. Let's move on. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think that he really underestimates your tattoos? Do you think that he honestly believes that you're not a good, but not a great? Because you know as well as I do that there's good tattooers and then there's great ones. Do you think that he just thinks you're good and not great, like him or Clean or Tiffer or Tony or some guys like that?
I don't know. I mean, you know, he's, you know, again, like, we're not really allowed to speak to things that are off camera or you know, that doesn't exist in the sphere of the show. But, you know, we've had some conversations between he and I that were, you know, him kind of saying, you know, you're talking a lot of shit. Why don't you show me some respect? And I would acquiesce, because I'm like, you're right. You're a good artist. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But at some point I kind of demanded it for myself too. Like, hey man, like, you keep calling me old, but you're older than me. You keep talking shit about, like, you know, like, my tattoos or whatever, but I've been tattooing longer than you. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to talk about respect, well, you need to actually give some before you get some. And you know, I think we we kind of came to a mutual agreement on that at a certain point. But I mean, like up until that, yeah, I mean, we were at each other's throats almost the whole time. And they honestly, like, it hasn't really been shown much. Like, they showed a little bit on the last episode where I was, you know, kind of over his shoulder messing with him, and he's telling me to fuck off. And I was like, man, that was like every day, you know?
I think it's
or like
a little bit.
Stuff. Like, I mean, like when I was safe on that tattoo, man, I was running around poking my nose in everybody's business, but it doesn't, it didn't make for, you know, it wasn't, you know, necessary for where the show needed to go. And I didn't do it because I wanted to get airtime. It's just like when I'm here in my shop, when people are tattooing and I'm not, I'm doing the same damn thing. I'm over your shoulder. I'm checking it out. I'm saying, you know, making little jokes or doing whatever. It's just the way I am, you know.
I think a lot of it's like you said earlier, your guys' personality just don't mesh too well.
Yeah. Well, you know, he said, you know, he's, you know, when I tattoo, I've got a very specific way that I like things to be. And I'm like, well, fucking welcome to Ink Master, bro. Like, you think this is how I tattoo? You think this is like what I'm doing? Like, nobody here is in the environment that they want to be in. And this is what we all signed up for, right? So it's like at a certain point, like if you're unhappy that somebody's messing with it, tell tits, man. Like that's just the way it is, you know? And honestly, like I've had probably some of my closest, you know, friends in the tattoo business are people that I mess with, you know, like the most. If I don't mess with you at all, it's because I don't fucking care about you. You know what I mean? I don't give two shits about you. But I've reached out to him even after the show because of things that he told me that were going on while we were filming. I've reached out to him after to just be like, hey man, how are things going? Like, what's going on? Can I help? And things like that. Like, you know, I don't hate the guy. I just don't necessarily like the way he carries himself. I think that's probably the best way to surmise that.
Another guy that sticks out a lot that I think you have a good relationship with, and I think is an amazing street shop tattooer, like you said, is Jimmy.
Oh yeah,
Jimmy's
badass, man. I mean, he's probably way more well-rounded than he'll give himself credit for. Like he would always kind of step back and kind of let Kyle do his thing and whatever. But like he was always able to kind of pull out, you know, some tricks from his hat that he had going that it's not that we didn't think that he had them. We would constantly tell him like, dude, you have so much more to offer. Like, you know, get out there and be more, you know, just have more confidence in yourself. Like, you know, he's definitely, you know, super funny when it comes to, you know, comebacks and how to mess with people and do stuff like that. But when it came to tattooing, he would always kind of be like, I don't know, man. And we were like, dude, like the space, you know, one that just passed.
I thought he should have won tattoo of the day.
Yeah, that tattoo was fantastic, dude. Like we were like tripping out. We were like, dude, this is the type of shit. Like you're sitting here going, I don't know. And then when he was drawing it, he was super just like, dude, I don't know, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, and then here it is. It comes out, and it's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, he's, yeah, I mean, he's a great tattooer, man. He's just, you know, like all of us, we kind of get, you know, we're our own worst critic. You know what I mean? So we kind of beat ourselves up quite a bit on any tattoos, you know. But I think that's what pushes us to keep trying harder every single time. You know, if you're just resting on your laurels the whole time, well, then, you know, you're not worth a shit. You know, I mean, like, just like any other living organism on this earth, like you either are growing or you're decaying. And so it's like, you know, if we're not challenging ourselves to grow further, then we may as well just die.
The very first episode, I agree with you too, by the way. The very first episode, I looked over at my wife, you know, because we watch it religiously every week, and I said to her, because, you know, they do those interviews where you get to know them first thing, and you said that you had 20 years experience, and it was showing your portfolio, and I looked at her, and I was like, I like him. Something about him, he sticks out, and I believe that he will go far in this competition. We're pretty deep in it now. I believe we're down to 11, right? 11 or 12?
11, I think 12.
12, yeah. We're down to the final 12, and you're still there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's, I I definitely thought. I didn't expect to come in and have everybody like blow smoke up my ass or kiss my ass or do or anything. I was ready to put my shit out on the stage just like everybody else. I'm a little, like some of the critiques I got, I was a little concerned with how they. I don't know. I didn't think the tattoos were as bad. Like the octopus in the camera, it's like that's a fucking great tattoo, man. Like, and the dude loves the tattoo. They show these like kind of far away images of them. They don't really kind of punch in and kind of show you the detail work that goes into some of these things. But it's like, that was one of the ones, where Christian was on Twitter saying, what was Turk thinking? And it's like, dude, it's a great tattoo. Like, you know what I mean? I definitely think that I have a lot to offer.
Faces on the neck was really cool. I thought.
Yeah, I mean that's another one too. I was appreciative that Oliver said, to pull me out of the running for elimination because as far as technical ability goes, like this is the best technically applied tattoo of the day, even though it's ugly. He didn't like the artwork of it, but even on some of the easier spots, the technical was not as clean as mine was on probably arguably one of the most difficult spots to tattoo. So, it's like, it depends, like that's been my biggest struggle. I think so far in the competition is that I'm trying to give the canvas exactly what they want and not just disregarding that and just doing what I think the judges will like. I kind of commented on that specifically. I think on the octopus camera one, I was like, this is a real struggle for me because I still have to sleep at night. You know what I mean? Like my job is to make the customer happy, the canvas happy, the client, whatever. Like on the show, their canvases in real life. These are my clients. These are my friends. You know what I mean? Like I give them what they want, regardless of what I think about their artwork. If they say that's what I like, that's what they get. And so I drew it, I drew that throat tattoo probably 5 different times before the guy was like, that's how I like it. That's perfect. And so I give it to him exactly the way that he wants it. He loves it, does all that crap. And, the judges look at it and say they don't like the artwork of it. Well, it's not on you. If I'd have been sitting down with you and you would have told me differently, well, you would have had an entirely different drawing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can definitely tell the judges are kind of biased. They're not completely biased, but they definitely have their own opinions on stuff. Because that octopus was beautiful that you did. That was detailed as a motherfucker. They can't say that it wasn't. A lot of it, they throw the challenge word in there. They say it didn't fit the challenge. But like you said, a lot of artists won't do what you just referred to as they'd rather please the judges than the canvas. And the canvas sits down and they're just like, fuck you, I'm going to do what the judges want, what gets me to the check. Not what you want. Like the famous episode where that one guy was like, if you'll split the money with me, I'll let you do whatever you want. I would rather have somebody like you who sits down and says, you're the one I'm tattooing, you're the canvas, I'm going to make you happy first, and then we'll worry about the judges and everybody else later.
Yeah, they don't spend a whole lot of time on us talking to our canvases, like we only have an hour with them. And I would spend the entire hour with them. The entire hour. Even if I already had it really solid in my head what they wanted and I had it pretty good, I would even start to draw some of it with them because for me, I really need to make a good connection with these people. And that's for 2 reasons. Number one, I want to be able to like really understand like the piece and how it's going to go on them and what it is that really makes them want this tattoo or whatever so that I can, really that connection, get the connection that I need to really kind of put it over the top for them. Because all I really give a shit about is them, right? And so the second aspect of that is that when they see how engaged I am in their tattoo, they're not going to tap out. They're not going to freak out. They're not going to get lightheaded. They're not going to get weird or anything like that because they know I actually give a shit about them. You know what I mean? Like I never had any issues with any of my canvases. Like the lady who originally wanted the gems lioness, like on her ribs, like after, I sat with her for 45 minutes of that hour, just talking about why she wanted it, what it meant to her. Like, she's a single mom, she wanted to be a protective of her daughter and stuff, but her daughter is the world to her and like the most precious thing. That's why that it's made of gems, all this stuff. I mean, none of that goes on TV apparently, but that's really what we talked about for 45 minutes. And it was only the last 15 minutes where I, was able to say, well, I love the idea, I love what it means, I love all this stuff, but I really just don't like where it's going to go. Like, and by this point, it's like we're already so like wrapped up in how amazing this tattoo is going to be that the location is meaningless. That type of bedside manner will help you switch, from one position to the other. You know what I mean? Like, look at like Gonzo. Unfortunately, Gonzo is a fantastic artist, but his like kind of bullhead, kind of demeanor of like, oh, these guys don't think I can do this tattoo, so I'm going to show them I can. It's like, dude, if you would have just bent a little bit and talked her into getting it somewhere else, you'd still be there. And probably be one of the guys who would have won the whole damn thing. I mean, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, Gonzo was very good.
But again, he couldn't pull himself out of his ass. And Christian just stood there and was like, yeah, man, go for it. Well, it's like, you're the coach, dude. You should be like, no, dude, don't do this tattoo in that spot. Like, let's talk her out of it. You know what I mean? But I think that, for me, like, I spent all this time like talking to the canvases, because it's like, I even said a couple times, all of this shit, none of this shit matters. The only thing that matters is you and I and how this tattoo turns out. Don't worry about this. Even if this is the one that sends me home or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is you're getting the tattoo that you want. I don't care.
100% agree, man. You're definitely one of the artists that I would let tattoo me. My tattooer Travis that has done my sleeves and my back piece and my chest piece, he knows my kids. He comes over and he spends time with my kids. We hang out. It's for me, before I let you tattoo me, which is a painful and a motherfucking bitch to go through. I want to be able to get along with you. I want to be able to talk with you, because while you're tattooing, somebody, you're having conversations with them. You're trying to get their mind off the pain, so you're talking to them. I have to get along with you before I worry about your drawing, before I worry about how good can you tattoo. I have to be able to get along with you.
Yeah. I mean, I sit down and have consultations with people. Most times they tell me what they want. I already am in my head, have pictured what they want, how it's going to look. It's already put together in my head, and I know that I already want to do it. But I still am going to have a consultation with you, because I want to sit down and say, does this work? Do you and I work together? You know what I mean? Because I've had people have amazing ideas, but they're shithole people. Well, I don't want to fucking sit here and tattoo somebody who's an asshole, or somebody who's going to talk about, whatever, like that. I don't know. It's not even necessarily like, oh, you're into things that I'm not into. It's not even that. It's just, some people are just fucking ugly, like, as people. And I just don't want to tattoo those type of people, I guess. You know what I mean? I've gotten myself to a certain point in my career where I don't have to fucking do your tattoo if I don't want to. And so if we sit down and we're talking and we don't have anything that we can connect on, I'm just going to pass it off to one of the other guys in the shop. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Makes great. The same way the canvas doesn't want to be tattooed by an asshole, the tattooer doesn't want to tattoo an asshole.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we'll have 4th of July things at my house and stuff, and the guys from the shop will come over and like, well, I invite clients, like I invite people. I go shooting with some of my clients. I go, you know what I mean? Like, we do things together. Like, after, I've got guys that have been tattooing for 15 years. You know what I mean? It's like, how do I not know everything about your life in 15 years? Like, if our relationship is just you come in, sit down, and hand me money, like, what the fuck kind of life is that? Yeah. You know what I mean? I want real connections out of this thing. Otherwise, what am I doing?
I went to my tattooer's wedding. He tattooed my wife, my wedding ring on my hand, my wife's initial. He's done some of the most meaningful. He done my kids' names on me. He's been there for some of the most meaningful days ever. Dude,
I officiated 2 of my clients' wedding. So, like, I mean, I'll do whatever, man. Like, because again, it's like, we have that connection now, you know what I mean? So it's like when people ask me to do certain stuff, or I've created art for friends' bands, I do all kinds of stuff. It's like, of course I would do that. Like, this is the only thing I really know how to do is art. So if I can somehow share that with you, and somehow that brought us together, and now I have real connections and real bonds with people that I might not have met otherwise, then why would I turn away from that?
Yeah. I don't want you to just be my tattooer. I want you to be my friend too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I don't want you to, I want you to feel confident when you sit down with me or hand me money or whatever. Like, I want you to know that we have a connection, and I did everything I could to make you as happy as you could. And, like, could you imagine going back to a tattooer that you felt that there was a good connection there, and you go back and they're looking at you like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
That'd be devastating, right? I mean, like, that's how I would feel.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, before I got my back, I have my full back from my shoulders all the way to the backs of my knees, man. And I went through a couple different artists, and one of whom is in the tattoo industry is widely regarded as one of the best tattooers. I don't want to name his name because I don't want to be an asshole about it. But after like 2 back and forths with him, I was like, I'm not going to this guy. Even though he's like probably arguably one of the best, I was like, nope, I cannot sit there for this many hours with somebody who's like that. I just can't do it.
Especially with him drilling on your back.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, not that I'll be, turned away from him or even facing him or whatever, but I don't know. It just, the way he handled it and the way it just seemed like I was just another, person hitting him up for some stuff. Oh, sorry. Somebody was trying to call me. So
you're good.
I think I turned it off. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a customer too. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm still getting tattooed. I'm not, over it or doing whatever. I'll get tattoos all the time. And I'm just like, I look at it the same way you guys look at it. You know what I mean? And that's why this is a good segue into talking about Dave, because a lot of people talk shit about Dave. Like, Dave's got crappy tattoos, or he just plays guitar. Why is he even a judge? And I think I said on Twitter, I'm like, Dave is the most important judge because Dave's the customer.
Yeah.
Like, selling a tattoo to a tattoo artist, man, that's easy. All the little bells and whistles and shit that we can do, like, makes other tattooers be like, oh, awesome. But somebody like you walks in and says, I don't know what that means, but I just like it. And that's what Dave does. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's who I try to sell my tattoos to. And that's who I am as well. I want to put out something that I look at and go, dude, this is badass. You know what I mean? So
you got to look at it from the customer's
and hopefully
eyes.
That, giving them exactly what they want means that I got into their head a little bit, and now that connection is even stronger. So
yeah, you got to get in there. You get into, like you said, you want to be friends, you want to get along, and you look at it from a customer's point of view. You're not just looking at it from, just give me your money, I'll tattoo whatever the hell you want, and then get out. You're looking at it as, if I was in your shoes, how would I want this to play out? And
yeah.
Well, I got one more topic I want to talk about before I let you go. And
sure.
I don't know if it was the last episode or if it was 2 episodes ago. I personally like it whenever tattooers or anybody in reality TV, they have the Ultimate Fighter shows for UFC fans. Anytime you can get a personal, in-depth look at somebody, you get beyond the tattoos, beyond the football, beyond whatever you're doing, and you get in deep with them, and they tell their life story and their meaning. Austin Rose is an example. He talked about it on the podcast with me about how he was homeless and did drugs and how he turned his life around. I believe it was an episode ago or 2 episodes ago you opened up about your son, who you told me that you just took off to drop off at school this morning.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great moment for not only Ink Master, but for you personally. I don't know if a lot of people have reached out to you, but I know that I have many times to get with you because you stood out to me. And that episode personally, because I have 2 sons, really stuck out to me. And the whole, was it hard for you to open up and talk about that, or did you just go for it?
Oh, man, it's always hard to talk about, like, for sure. It's, it wasn't even necessarily something that I was wanting to discuss, like, when I was there, but it's always on my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I'm away from home for as long as I was and stuff like that. It's obviously not easy for my son to deal with. It's not easy for my wife to deal with my son who's not dealing with it well either, and so every day after filming, and sometimes, one episode will take 2-3 days of filming, and it's like every day is like, when are you coming home? Or like, here's, let's FaceTime because Robbie wants to see you, or whatever. And I have another son too. And he's, so young that he's turning 2 next week. And it's like, they're both just kind of like, where's this, like, figure that's always here, and now he's just not here. And for me, waking up and not being able to wake my boys up, or be there to read them books when they go to bed and stuff like that, it's tough, man. It's anybody who has kids when they were there, I feel for them, especially, I'm not saying my situation is worse because of that or anything like that, but not being able to really articulate back and forth, like, I miss you, or I'm coming home soon, or something like that. It's tough, And so it was definitely not something that I necessarily wanted to bring up, but it was 100% the driving force of why I was there. So,
and I think it's one of the driving forces of you personally, like you on the show. You can just tell.
Off the show too, man. It's every single day.
I've been talking to you for 41 minutes now, and I can just tell. I can just tell that's, like you said, it's always on your mind. It's always in your thoughts, and that's what drives you. And you can tell that, like Christian getting on to you, or not just Christian, anybody who talks shit about you on Twitter or Facebook, that doesn't mean anything to you. The only thing that matters is your goals, your future, and your family.
That's right. Yeah, there's no better way to say that.
And like I said before, I'm a huge fan, and I appreciate you coming on so much, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and if here in just a few weeks or so, after we get a few more episodes deep, if you want to, we'll have you on here for a recap episode.
Sure. Yeah, anytime. Really, we just if we schedule them for Tuesdays like this, I can do it no problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll get it on a Tuesday.
During my work week, it's hectic, and then Monday and Wednesday is family day and stuff like that. So Tuesday is probably the best day to do it. But yeah, anytime if you want to go through it again, or if you have any pressing questions that you want an alternate view of an answer, hit me up, man. I'll be glad to help.
Tuesday works out better because it's the night Ink Master premieres. We got a new episode tonight.
Yeah, tonight's going to be pretty crazy. Again, like, it's like I know the future, but I also don't know how it's going to play out. Like, I don't know how they're going to put the future together. So yeah. It's like I know how it ends at the end of the episode, like because of that. But man, how are they going to get there? I have no idea. So it's just as new and exciting for me as it is for you guys. So.
How crazy is this chalk challenge going to be?
Let's just say, like, none of us know what the hell we're doing with sidewalk chalk, for one. But things, some pretty crafty ideas. What is it? Necessity is the birth of invention, and we get pretty inventive. So it gets pretty wild.
I'm pumped for this one because I seen where Ink Master put out the little teaser about the chalk, and it looks. You could just see the look on everybody's face. They're like, "How the fuck are we going to do this with chalk?"
Yeah, man. And it sucks too because as artists, we've all seen these crazy like sidewalk chalk like things, and they're amazing. They look amazing. Some of them look like holes in the ground that you could fall right into. You know what I mean? But none of us have ever done it. So you know what I mean? Like yeah, I've seen other people do it, but I've never actually sat down to try to fucking do it. And sidewalk chalk is not even like regular chalk. It's almost like more like gouache. It's kind of gummy because it has to stick down a little bit. So which is actually better than just regular chalk, because then it would be super dusty and whatever. But it gets fucking messy today. That is for sure. So
We're all pretty pumped for this episode. I thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to talking with you again.
cool, man. Well, I'm ready when you are, buddy. Thanks for everything.
Thank you so much, man. You have a good day.
You too.
That was a good episode. That was a great episode. My third Ink Master. Well, I had one coach, Christian, and then Austin Rose, and now Turk. I like this group of Ink Master guys. I think this is a very diverse group. It's very awkward, and you want that in a tattooer. You want an awkward style, street shop style, suave tattooer, that can do any kind of street shop. I talk with Christian, and I didn't get to it with Turk, but my if I had to pick a top 5 right now on Ink Master, one would definitely be Tiffer. If I had to pick one to win, it'd be Tiffer. Tony, I like TJ, but I'm not sure. I like Amanda, and I like Turk. Those 5 are pretty strong. Amanda's pretty strong for the girls, but man, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with this Ink Master. Pumped for this episode tonight with the chalk. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with me and Turk. If you guys want to hit him up on Twitter, it's Turk at Twitter. And great dude, great tattoos, great story. So I appreciate all you guys for liking, subscribing, and listening. I'm Hank. This is Break MMA. See you guys.